Good morning. Let's get this straight. Good morning. I'm Ross McWilliam. And today I want to share with you Corona Mindset 9. I've done obviously 8 before. These are on YouTube and they vary in length from 3 or 4 minutes to about 30 minutes. This one's a bit shorter. This one's about 7 or 8 minutes. And it's about creating good habits, especially in this Corona Mindset time where we have got plenty of time and opportunity if we can see it. So what I want to do is put a presentation on through Zoom, talk you through the slides, and then I'll put it on YouTube. And if you want to ask any questions, just send me an email. Okay, let's just see if we can get this into the shared area now. I'm not too bad at this sort of stuff these days. I'm getting better and better, so they say. And we'll go for the beginning, and we'll do this one. Okay, so you can see me and see the slide there. So Corona Mindset 9, change your habits, 5 tips for your success. Now over the years, I've delivered lots of presentations. I think this one, the longer version, I delivered about 7 or 8 years ago, the Chartered Management Institute. That's why you might see the little logo on the bottom there. So that's where it's driven from. Now, again, over the years, I've read lots and lots of books, as many people have. And the first book that connected to this area for me was Baumeister and John Tierney, Rediscovering Your Greatest Strength. This is willpower. And fascinating book, very long-winded. And I'm going to really distill it down for you now in very simple terms. They talk about why power rather than willpower. And they say that because willpower is finite. Even if you think you've got great willpower, it's like resilience, it will run out eventually if we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So we've got to be smart. We've got to think, try and find the why power, your reasons. Once you put reasons into it and personalize it, very important that personalize it at this stage, that we can get some good results. So, you know, the reasons, the why power could be healthier, save money, a holiday, a new job. It could be a triggering event. Now, a triggering event is powerful. Something happens, and overnight, your negative behaviors change to positive behaviors. It seems as if it's really black and white, and it is. And a great example, sadly, is Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton's son Connor fell out of a window in a flat and tragically died. And after that moment, he swore never to drink again. It wasn't even a choice. It wasn't even a thought process. That why was there. This is Connor. I've also had a triggering event with a girl from Berwick and went from 23 stone to 16 stone. Okay, but that was 10 years ago. And sadly, since then, I've put the weight on. I'm going to talk about why I put that weight on, the relative habit that I fell down on. I always have my why power here, but something changed after the triggering event for me. I'll come back to that one. Why power then? It's strengthened by long-term exercise and glucose. Glucose is we must keep topping ourselves up with the good food and the glucose to get the energy, especially when we're in chance of making some bad decisions or giving up on the habit altogether. And this is what I'm saying in the last point here, wear ourselves out. We wear ourselves out to exhaustion after multiple failures, you know, boom and busts, or it's Monday, I'll get on a diet, and then Thursday, Friday, I'll get off it again, and boom and bust, boom and bust. So we need automatic good habits, less decision making, so it's not even a process, it's just black and white. And this is the thing that Baumeister and Tierney really pronounced in the book, that good automatic habits, we don't know we're doing them. Okay, the second one, which links in very neatly to the first one, is creating these automatic good habits. This was developed by Charles Duhigg and The Power of Habit. Quite a heavy book, but some really good points in it. He talks about cue, routine, reward. Okay, and there's a donut there because sometimes people have a break and the routine is to go for the donuts and the reward is they feel good. So it's an automatic behavioral pattern of cue, routine, reward. The dopamine, the reward hormone, makes us feel good when we've done something in that routine, okay, because of the cue to tell us to do something. And the click of a door with mice in mazes, they run to the end and get the cheese. There's a simple demonstration of it. At break time, we get a cigarette, we have a pleasure high, or in the case before, a donut. But interestingly, from this book, Duke University found out that 40% of daily actions are not decisions, just response habits. We do it because we've always done it, or we do it because somebody else is doing it. And this is the interesting bit. The brain can't tell the difference between good or bad habits. Okay, you can, but your brain can't. And over time, you get in the wrong company or adopt the bad habits, you'll think that's normal. So we learn to observe the cues and rewards. We can change the routines, especially in dieting. Okay, the cue could be, oh, it's end of work, I'm at home having my meal, the reward is the meal, and then, oh, I need something extra. It must be the sweet, it must be the dessert, it must be the drink. So the extra reward is not what we want, and it's being aware of that. So the recommendations: take self-control and set a clear goal, and get people on your side, okay, to make you accountable, and link it to the why power. So you've got your reasons why, it's a clear goal, and people are supporting you. Don't have too many goals, stick at one at a time. Watch out for conflicting goals. So list main goals and work out which ones may be conflicting. So especially, you know, in the new year when people have, I'll do X, Y, Z, be careful that some of the ones you want might be working against the other ones. It's very important to work that out. And you can only do that yourself personally by writing the goals down and say which ones work out against you. But I think the overriding thing for me in there is don't have too many. Build rewards in. You can't be Spartacus all the time and Spartan in your outlook. You've got to build rewards in. The environment is critical. And this is something that I fell down the weight loss, which I will come to. But having a sanctuary and having a home where there's no interruptions, a poor marriage, or even having no home where you're lodging somewhere on a couch, it's not the ideal environment. And awareness of your mood, something I've become acutely aware of when I feel a bit down, when I might make poor choices. What day is it? What time of day is it? What month is it? Where am I? All these sort of things, who am I with? All these sort of things can affect my mood. And the final point here is rally the herd. This is something we don't have to think about too much. It's an automatic good habit. If you're in a company, for instance, or in a group in the gym, having group exercise, and you don't want to do it, but everybody's pulling you along, then you just carry on even though you don't want to do it. It could be an office somewhere where you're not getting your receipts in for travel expenses, but the system says once everybody gets them in, you will get paid. So if you don't put them in, you don't get paid. So the herd mentality then is a good thing. We can work in that in groups where everybody's doing the right thing. It pulls us along. And it's important to use that analogy. Perhaps a cyclist in a herd, but in a group of cyclists around the back so he's not getting the wind. It pulls them along. Very physical metaphor, that one. The third one is from a brilliant, but understated book and least known book, Switched by Dan and Chip Heath. It's called A Switch, but it's about motivating your elephant. He calls this book about the elephant and the rider. The elephant is the emotional part of us, which is 6 times stronger than the rider, which is the logical part. So the emotional elephant could be the limbic system, the amygdala and the hypothalamus in the brain, which is very emotional, influenced by chemicals, can do things without us even thinking, even knowing it's happened. The rational brain, the prefrontal cortex in our brain, is something that we make the rational, logical decisions with. We know something's good for us, but we still don't do it sometimes. And that reason we don't do something is because the elephant is not happy. So you've got to be in synchronization with the elephant. That must be happy, your emotional side, before the rational side can kick in and do the right thing. Okay? And in a breakup in a relationship, the rational thing is to step away and give the person space. But what would do the elephant wants to keep coming back, wants to keep coming back. Very powerful. And he explained this in a guy called John Stegner in the USA. And he was a worker. And he went in to look at profit and loss in his company. And he went in and produced a 3-line account, profit, loss, and turnover. And he looked at gloves. And he found that we're wasting $10,000 a month on gloves. And the company just replied and said, well, you know, he's a good supplier, helps in other ways, this guy. He surely can't be that much. And the good quality gloves, excuses. So the next meeting, he went in and said the same thing again, and they didn't listen to him. On the third meeting, John Stegner went in and threw all the gloves down on the table. But then something that really got them, every 10 seconds, he threw 3 pairs on. Another 10 seconds, 3 pairs. I said, what are you doing, John? He said, well, every time we're talking now, that's how many pairs of gloves we paid for that we didn't need, paid for we didn't need. So a very powerful physical example there to motivate the elephant, to get people's attention. And, you know, a good one for this is alcohol. Alcohol is a very powerful drug, and it's something that we think we can handle, but by the very essence of being a drug, it can affect our moods, but it can affect our habits, literally just like that. And so, you know, to motivate your elephant, if you've got alcohol in the system, we can get very emotional. If we get very emotional with the elephant, the rational head won't be able to keep on the good habits. And this is something that I found, because once I'd drunk, I'd then eat the crap food, the carb food, the calories. And all of a sudden, you'd have that scenario. The next day, you'd repeat it again, because you've thrown one day away, let's throw another one. And you're putting back-to-back bad days together. And so this is the reason why I fell down the weight loss the second time. It was the alcohol. So what I decided to do to change these habits, well, let me show you. And that's where I got to. Even worse than the first time from the girlfriend breakup, nearly 24 stone. And that was 2.5 years ago. And it came down to the alcohol was a big issue. Now I've stopped drinking. I've been not drinking now for 700 days. My eating is much better. I've always exercised. Whereas the triggering event the first time was a girlfriend, this time it was health. And I need knee surgery and ankle surgery. My back was hurting so bad that it wasn't really a triggering event. It was just a rational decision. But for that rational decision with the elephant, it must be motivated the elephant. In my case, I got it motivated by giving me the cues and taking them away of alcohol and bad food, which ended up like this. So I won't dwell on that too much. The fourth tip I can give you is to shape the path. And this is a great one from Chippendale Heath. And I'll give you 2 examples. The first one's Donald Berwick, and he was a healthcare professional, an American healthcare system. And he was working at one particular hospital, and there was a very good success rate, recovery rate from heart operation, this type of heart operation. And there was a certain procedure that had to be fulfilled. But when he looked at other heart surgeries in different hospitals within that city, and then extrapolated across the country, this hospital had the best recovery rates. And he thought, it can't be because we've got better surgeons, although they're good. There must be better surgeons elsewhere. There must be equally good hospitals and staff there. These patients here must not always be the best ones for recovery. They must have a whole range of patients. And so he listed about 10 points that needed to be done after the operation had been completed. He then got these 10 points and talked about them to all the different hospitals in the city, across the area they were in, and then ultimately across the country. And within 18 months, when people started adopting these principles, survival after heart operations, they saved 1,000 lives. He shaped the path. He showed them exactly what needed to be done to change behaviors. Not as significant in terms of death, but maybe. Reger and Butterfield looked at changing American habits of eating healthier. And what they did, they said they wanted to go away from the full fat milk. A lot of Americans like the full fat milk. We want to give them, you know, the percentage milk and the low fat milk. So they put this at the end of the aisle next to the till. So people think, oh, the last thing you get is the milk. It's the low fat one, they'll get it. Americans didn't want to touch it. And all the strategic placing of products in the right areas, the healthier products, they didn't want to touch it. So they ran a health campaign. And they put, I think, about 6 rashers of bacon next to the fat milk. And every time you bought the fat milk, it's like eating these rashers of bacon. That's going to clog your arteries. That's going to give you a shorter time of living. And I tell you what, the campaign with the rashers of bacon next to the fat milk instantly changed behaviors, okay? Because they shaped the path. They showed them what was going to happen. And that's very powerful, showing people the future. The 5th one is bright spots. And it's a fascinating one. And bright spots, looking for the bright spots in our behavior. We might think, oh, it's all terrible, I can't make any progress, so I've thrown it all away. But I've noticed this at first hand. I used to work in a high dependency unit, the highest tariff in the country for children, young children, 14 and 15, who had emotional behavioral difficulties. And quite often they'd lose their temper. And every time they lose their temper, it'd be quite aggressive and violent. And generally would end up in tears, and the child would be distraught. So I've done it again. I'm useless. I can't do this. But I always look for the bright spots. And I would say things along the lines, and this would be true, that it took you longer to get upset, and it took you shorter time to come round. And you can see what mistakes you've made this time, and you didn't make those last time. So I'm looking for the bright spots of behavior. And do you know what? Slowly that behavior changed. They took on board these viewpoints. A more articulate, intense, and wide-ranging example would be Jerry Stemnin, Vietnam Water Project. And he was tasked by the United Nations to go and create clean water in Vietnam. And his first gut instinct was to say, you know what, we can't do it. We need millions and millions of dollars. And they said, well, we haven't got millions. Here's a small budget, away you go. So he went. Instead of going to his gut instinct, trying to build water plants and make it all modernized professional, he looked at what was already there. And yes, there were people who were struggling with no water, drinking dirty water, and malnourished kids. But there was a certain pocket of peoples who weren't suffering as bad as other people. They saw a bright spot. And these people were living near the coast, and the cultural way of eating the fish was to actually eat everything. Whereas the rest of the culture, in this particular example, didn't eat all the fish parts. And this particular group of people, this subculture, not only did that, they ate the parts, they cooked them in a certain way, they had all the juices afterwards. And he looked at this and he said, these were making these kids healthier than other kids. They were heavier than other kids. And so he looked at this and the way they used that water, and the way they boiled it, and the way they used it, and where they stored it. And without getting into too much detail, he found that there was bright spots of behavior that he could work with. And so it lent itself then to working and creating these foundations and plants in these coastal areas, which helped him then develop these bright spots. So top 5 tips to create better habits. Find your why power. Create automatic good habits, because the brain can't tell. Motivate your elephant so your rational head will be able to work with it. Shape the path, make it very clear, and look for the bright spots in your behaviors. So what is going to help you make that change, to keep changing as I did? I made the change, and to regress and to make the change. The triggering events. With me, it was health in the end. A greater awareness and responsibility that when I feel down, when I'm emotionally drained, that I recognize that and take responsibility. Understanding how motivation can be very limited, willpower, it's why power all the time. Building and practicing automatic good habits. And they could be so good, these habits, you don't know you're doing them. Then you've hit the jackpot. I'm a big believer that self-esteem and confidence, the cachet of that, is very important. We've got to, it's a bit of a cliche, but love ourselves, believe in ourselves, think we've got some worth. The environment is critical. When I was living with my mum and dad, and they were sadly dying, and I had carers in the house, and I had weight on, the environment really worked against me. Broken sleep, emotions, and it was difficult. 2 things to finish off with. Stephen Covey, Start with the End in Mind. And he talks about 7 habits of highly effective people. I'm just going to put these on the screen and let you have a look at those. Now, how many of these habits do you have? Do you use the right language? For instance, I very rarely use problem. I say it as a challenge. The language, and be proactive in your choices. We can beat this. Visualize the end in mind. What's the mission statement to get there? Prioritize what's important, values, roles. Always see a win-win. Top professionals always see a win-win. Top leaders always see a win-win. Communicate, listen to understand, not to respond or interrupt. Be open-minded in challenge and teamwork. And the 7th one I've got much, much better at is to reflect, slow down, recharge, rebalance on different levels. Top 10 regrets. If we don't make these changes, what's going to be our regrets in life? This is from the British Heart Foundation. So some regrets we have: they're asking grandparents about their lives before they died, and parents, eating unhealthily, wasting years with the wrong partner, choice of career, not working harder at school, starting smoking, not saving enough, not enough exercise, not keeping in touch with friends from the past, and not traveling. The number one is not traveling. These are regrets. And it could be that we've got some bad habits that's stopping us doing that. Okay? Regrets. So I've got one final question for you. If you're 100 years old and on your deathbed, okay, what's the one habit that you wish you'd kicked that was bad for you, that would maybe give you even a better life? 100 is pretty good, isn't it? But let's just imagine, let's go for 100 years old, you're on your deathbed. What's the one bad habit you wish you'd kicked? And when you answer that question, my statement to you is this: that's the habit you should kick now. Thanks for watching. I'm Ross McWilliam, Corona Mindset 9, creating good habits. Thank you. Let's get that right.